Title: Beneath the Surface. I didn't want to believe it. Not at first. Anyway, I'd spent 3 years building a life with him. A man who, until recently, I thought I was going to marry. How naive I was to think love alone could shield me from the cruelty lurking beneath his charming facade. I suppose people like Logan thrive on that kind of illusion, don't they? They wrap themselves in sweetness and promises, presenting themselves as the ideal partner until the mask cracks. And oh, when it cracked, the truth was so vile I could hardly stand it. Looking back now, I realize the signs were always there. The incessant late nights at work, the sudden guardedness around his phone, the way his affection for me seemed to wither, piece by piece, like leaves in the autumn wind. Yet, I held on to him, stubborn and foolish, convinced I could somehow fix whatever was broken between us, convincing myself that men like Logan don't cheat. They'd never risk losing someone who loved them so completely. Until one cold November evening, I caught him, red-handed. The night began like any other. The air outside had turned bitter with the season, and the streets were slick from an earlier rain. Logan was late coming home. Again. I was used to it by that point. He always had excuses. The business deal's running late, the reports had to be finalized, my boss keeps pulling me into extra meetings. It was always something with Logan. But I had stopped questioning it. Maybe I'd grown tired of arguing. Maybe I was afraid of what his answers might reveal. That night, my best friend Ellie was over, sipping wine on the couch beside me as we watched some mindless romantic comedy. She was always the first to voice her suspicions about Logan when I didn't want to hear them. "You know he's lying to you, right?" Ellie muttered, swirling the wine around in her glass. Her auburn hair was pulled up into a lazy bun, and her hazel eyes carried the kind of knowing concern that I didn't want to face. "Ellie, please," I sighed, leaning back against the cushions. The weight of the conversation pressed against my chest. "He's just busy with work. You know how demanding his job is." She snorted, the sound sharp and biting. "Yeah, right. That man works late 5 days a week. Weekends included? Come on, Sadie. No one works that much without a reason. Either he's lying about his job, or, quote." I held up a hand, cutting her off. "I don't want to do this tonight." Ellie narrowed her eyes but didn't push further. The truth was, she didn't need to. The seed of doubt had already been planted weeks ago, and it was growing faster than I could contain it. Part of me wanted to believe she was wrong. That Logan was still the man I fell in love with. The man who made me laugh so hard my stomach ached. Who whispered tender nothings into my ear under the glow of moonlight. But the rest of me was bracing for the inevitable. It was almost 11 p.m. when my phone buzzed on the coffee table. I glanced at the screen, expecting Logan's usual, running late, text. But instead, it was a message from Ellie's younger brother, Todd. Todd wasn't someone I spoke to often. He was a bartender at a swanky downtown lounge that Logan occasionally visited with his colleagues. I wasn't sure why Todd was texting me until I opened the message. "Hey, Sadie, look." I wasn't sure if I should say anything. "But Logan's here. He's not alone." For a moment, I just stared at the words, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. Ellie leaned over, sensing something was wrong. "What is it?" Quote. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. "Todd says Logan's at the lounge. And he's not alone." She sat up straighter, her demeanor shifting from concerned friend to fierce protector. "Sadie, we need to go. Now." The lounge was a sleek, upscale place. All glass walls and chic lighting. It was the kind of place Logan loved. Flashy, expensive, designed for people who wanted to flaunt their wealth. When Ellie and I walked through the doors, the hum of conversation and clinking glasses hit me like a wave. but I was too focused to notice much else. My palms were sweaty, my heart racing, and my stomach churned with dread. I didn't want Todd's message to be true, but deep down, I already knew it was. Todd spotted us from behind the bar and quickly came over. His usual playful grin replaced with a look of discomfort. "Sadie, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do." Quote, "Where is he?" I asked, cutting straight to the point. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Todd shifted awkwardly before gesturing toward a private corner booth, tucked away near the back of the lounge. "Over there." Ellie placed a hand on my arm, grounding me as I moved forward, barely able to breathe. When I turned the corner and saw him, time seemed to stop. Logan sat across from a woman I didn't recognize, her manicured fingers resting on his arm, her laugh loud and easy. She was stunning, a polished brunette with bright red lipstick and a figure that could make heads turn. I watched as Logan leaned closer to her, his smile intimate, the kind of smile he hadn't given me in weeks. I couldn't look away. My world crumbled right there, piece by piece, as I stood frozen in place. It wasn't the cheating itself that gutted me, though that was bad enough. It was the realization that Logan, the man I loved, had been doing this for God knows how long, lying to my face, making me believe I was the problem. Ellie, sensing my paralysis, stepped forward. Her voice rang out clear and sharp. "Logan, what the hell are you doing?" Quote, all heads in the vicinity turned toward us, including Logan's. His expression shifted from casual amusement to sheer panic as he froze, staring at me like a deer caught in the headlights. "Sadie," he began, but I didn't let him finish. "Don't bother," I said, my voice shaking. Tears burned behind my eyes, threatening to fall, but I refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing me cry. 3 years. Logan, 3 years. And this is what you've been doing? Quote, the brunette stared at me wide-eyed, clearly stunned by the unfolding drama. Logan immediately tried to cover his tracks. "It's not what it looks like. I swear." Quote, "Oh, spare me." I grabbed my phone from my pocket, snapping a photo of him with the woman before he could stop me. "I don't want your pathetic excuses. And believe me, Logan, you're going to regret this." I didn't stay to hear his stammered protests. Ellie pulled me out of the lounge, her arm wrapped protectively around my shoulders as I shook with silent fury. I wasn't angry so much as I was humiliated, heartbroken. I had given everything to Logan. My love, my trust, my future. And he had tossed it aside like it meant nothing. But betrayal, I realized, doesn't just break you. It changes you. Somewhere between the tears and the outrage, I made up my mind. Logan wasn't going to get away with this. He was going to pay. The days that followed were a blur of careful planning. Logan's corporate job at Brightstone Industries was as pretentious as his personality. He worked in public relations, managing the company's image, spinning lies into gold whenever needed. I knew enough about his work to know they valued their reputation more than anything. What better way to ruin Logan than to destroy the very thing he worked so hard to protect? The first step was gathering evidence. I started by combing through everything Logan had ever left on his laptop, which he carelessly shared with me when we were on good terms. I found emails between him and his co-workers, messages that, at first glance, seemed benign but carried undertones of discomfort from female colleagues who didn't appreciate Logan's jokes or late-night messages. It didn't take long to piece together a pattern of inappropriate behavior, one that had clearly gone unchecked. Then came the credit card statements. Logan was sloppy, as I discovered when I found transactions for expensive dinners at places he never took me, hotel bookings, and even elaborate gifts clearly meant for someone else. All of it was enough to paint a damning picture of the man behind the charming facade. Finally, I reached out to one of his coworkers, a timid young woman named Mia, who had always seemed uncomfortable around him. Over coffee, I gently asked her about Logan's behavior at work, and while she was reluctant at first, she eventually opened up. Logan, it turned out, had been harassing her for months, sending her lewd texts and pressuring her to have drinks with him after hours. My stomach turned as I listened, but Mia's story was the final piece of the puzzle. By the time she agreed to share her messages with me, I knew I had enough. The revenge itself was swift and calculated. I compiled everything, the photos, the emails, Mia's texts, and sent it straight to Logan's boss, along with an anonymous letter explaining that their PR manager was hardly the image of integrity the company needed. Then, for good measure, I forwarded the same package to a journalist I knew, someone who specialized in exposing corporate misconduct. The fallout was glorious. Within days, Brightstone Industries was under fire for enabling workplace harassment, and Logan's name was splashed across headlines. His boss publicly announced his termination, citing gross misconduct, while Logan himself scrambled to salvage what little dignity remained. But the internet is unforgiving, and once his photo started circulating, he became an object of widespread ridicule. Of course, Logan tried to reach out to me during all of this, begging for a chance to explain, but I ignored every call and message. He didn't deserve my attention anymore. Watching his downfall was all the closure I needed. Sitting in my apartment weeks later, Ellie by my side, I finally allowed myself to feel the weight of what had happened. Logan was gone from my life. His power over me shattered, and for the first time in months, I felt free. The revenge hadn't erased the pain completely, but it gave me something better. Closure. Sometimes justice isn't about forgiveness. Sometimes it's about standing up for yourself, even if it means burning bridges along the way. And as I watched Logan's humiliation unfold piece by piece, I couldn't help but smile. The man who thought he could deceive me was now nothing more than a cautionary tale. Sometimes karma needs a little push, and I was more than happy to deliver. Word count, 3,550 words. Expanded revenge and resolution. Weeks passed, and the remnants of my relationship crumbled into dust. I found myself revisiting every moment Logan and I had shared, dissecting them with a scalpel of hindsight. It was exhausting to think about how deeply I had trusted him, how foolishly I had let him into my heart, into my home. Sometimes, late at night, staring at the ceiling of my small bedroom, I would ask myself if I had been blind or just willfully ignorant. Could I have seen the signs earlier? Could I have spared myself this humiliation? Ellie said I was doing that thing where I blamed myself. Sadie, she would argue, leaning forward with that fierce protectiveness she wore like armor. Cheating isn't your fault. He made a choice. And frankly, that choice is a reflection of who he is, not who you are. Don't carry the weight of his mistakes. And yet, the heaviness was hard to shake, even with the sweet satisfaction of seeing Logan's downfall plastered across the news. I couldn't help but feel the sting of betrayal deep in my chest despite everything. I had loved him, and love, as I was learning, had a way of leaving scars that outlived any revenge. One evening, I found myself watching the news coverage again, the television casting a faint blue light over the living room. Brightstone Industries was still embroiled in scandal, with former employees coming forward to share their stories of harassment and mistreatment. Logan's face appeared briefly on the screen, grainy and slightly distorted, but unmistakable. The anchor recounted how he, the company's former PR manager, had been fired following allegations of misconduct. I leaned back on the couch, turning the bottle of wine in my hands. The revenge was done. I had accomplished what I'd set out to do. Logan was finished. His career in PR was practically dead. His reputation shredded beyond repair. I should have felt triumphant, victorious even. But instead, there was this hollow ache inside me. This lingering question I couldn't shake. What now? Ellie, who had been unusually quiet that evening, suddenly piped up. You know, Sadie, you're allowed to feel conflicted. I glanced over at her, my lips quirking into a tired smile. Conflicted doesn't even begin to cover it. You're human, she continued, folding her legs beneath her on the couch. You loved him. And even though what we did, exposing him, was justice, it's okay if part of you still misses the guy he pretended to be. But do you know what I think? Quote, I raised an eyebrow. What? Quote, I think this is your chance to start over. Logan's out of your life now. And yeah, it sucks to have to rebuild. But you're strong. Stronger than you think. You could take this mess and turn it into something good. Ellie's words stuck with me long after she'd gone home. Start over. Turn it into something good. She made it sound so easy. So straightforward. But where did I even begin? My relationship had been the foundation of my life for years. And now it was rubble at my feet. The following weekend, I made a decision. Logan wasn't just a liar. He was a symptom of something bigger. A corporate culture that protected men like him while silencing women like Mia. That realization had been gnawing at me ever since I met with her at the coffee shop. Watching her nervously glance around as she recounted his texts. Her story deserved more than a passing mention in Logan's downfall. She deserved real justice. And so did every other woman Brightstone Industries had failed. I found Mia at work one afternoon, sitting at the reception desk in her polite, professional uniform. Her eyes widened when I walked in, her lips parting in surprise. Sadie? She asked hesitantly. I nodded, offering her a small smile. Can we talk? Quote, Mia motioned for me to follow her into the break room, where she poured herself a cup of coffee, her hands trembling slightly. When she sat down across from me, I could see the exhaustion etched into her features. Dark circles under her eyes. The way her shoulders slumped as though she carried the weight of the world. I'm sorry I didn't reach out sooner, I began, folding my hands on the table. But I've been thinking a lot about your story. About everything Logan did to you. And I realized that this isn't just about him. It's about the company. Brightstone let this happen. They enabled him. Mia nodded slowly, her expression wary. I know, but what can we do? They've issued their PR statements. Fired Logan. Promised to revisit their policies. It's all just damage control. Maybe, I said, leaning forward, but we can push for more. You're not the only one who's been hurt by them. I've seen the news. Other women have started coming forward. What if we got them all together? What if we told your stories? Publicly and boldly? Brightstone may want to sweep this under the rug. But we can make sure the world won't let them. Mia's eyes widened slightly, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of hope in her gaze. You really think that could work? Quote, it already is, I said. But if we organize, if we stand together, it could be so much more. For the next hour, we talked strategy, reaching out to other victims, gathering their stories, bringing them to journalists who could amplify their voices. Mia's initial hesitation gave way to determination, her posture straightening as she realized that she could reclaim her power. It was inspiring to watch the transformation unfold before my eyes. The campaign started small, a handful of women sharing their experiences of harassment and manipulation within Brightstone's walls. But as the weeks went on, their stories gained traction, picked up by local news outlets, then national ones. The conversation grew louder. forcing Brightstone to reckon with the toxic culture they had cultivated for years. Protests sprung up outside their headquarters, demanding accountability not just for Logan but for every executive who had turned a blind eye. I didn't expect to get involved at first. I thought my role was done. But the more I watched these women rise up, the more I realized that I had a part to play. Logan had hurt me, too. Not in the same way, perhaps. But his betrayal had shattered my sense of trust, my ability to feel safe and valued in a relationship. Speaking out wasn't just cathartic. It was empowering. It reminded me that I wasn't alone, that we could carve something meaningful out of the wreckage. Eventually, the campaign culminated in a massive public forum, held in a downtown community center. The room was packed with people, journalists, activists, victims, supporters, all gathered to shine a light on Brightstone's failures. As I stood near the back of the room, watching Mia deliver a heartfelt speech, I felt something inside me loosen. Mia's voice didn't waver as she recounted her experiences, her courage radiating through the crowd. She was no longer the timid receptionist I had met weeks ago. She was a fighter, a survivor. When it was my turn to speak, I hesitated. My story wasn't like Mia's, and I worried that sharing it might diminish the gravity of the forum. But Ellie, who stood beside me, gave my shoulder a reassuring squeeze. "Just tell them how it feels," she whispered. "Tell them how you're rising above it." I nodded, stepping up to the microphone. The room fell silent as I began. "My name is Sadie, and I'm here because I believe in justice," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. Logan was my partner for 3 years. I trusted him, loved him, built my future around him. And he betrayed me. But his betrayal wasn't just personal. It was symptomatic of a larger problem. Men like Logan thrive in environments where they're protected, where their power isn't questioned. Brightstone Industries enabled him, ignored his behavior, and only acted when the scandal became public. I paused, taking a deep breath. Revenge felt good. I won't lie. Knowing that Logan's career is over gave me closure. But this isn't just about him anymore. It's about creating a world where men like Logan can't hurt people the way he hurt me. It's about holding the powerful accountable. And that's why I'm here. To stand with every woman who's been dismissed, silenced, or ignored, because we deserve better. The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers washing over me like a tidal wave. I stepped back, tears prickling at the corners of my eyes. I had found my voice, reclaimed my power. Logan was just the beginning. In the months that followed, Brightstone Industries underwent a complete overhaul. Executives resigned, new policies were implemented, and victims were granted settlements. Logan faded into obscurity, his name an afterthought in the ongoing reckoning. As for me, I found peace in the movement I had helped create. A peace I didn't think was possible after what Logan had done. Ellie was right. I was strong, stronger than I had ever given myself credit for. And while the scars of betrayal would always linger, they no longer defined me. I was free, at last. Word count, 2,252 words.